This will be a yes or no format in regards to whether the animation industry would work out for you. Hi, I'm Sunny, and I have 5 piles you guys can choose from left to right. I have pile 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you're more than welcome to pause the video if you feel like you need more time. Otherwise, I will go ahead and start with the first pile. Remember, you can think about a specific field or several fields that you're interested in and kind of check the vibes of whether it's suited for you. You are the last person who has a say, not me, so do take what resonates. Pile number 1, you guys have a yes. You guys have the 9 of Pentacles upright. So for you, yes, I do think the specific field in the animation industry that you're thinking about would work out fine with you. Sorry, my throat's terrible. So I do think overall that this pile does feel like they're enjoying themselves. I think you would be someone who's very stimulated. I mean, look at how beautiful this. I just think that you would have a lot of amenities that are very, so like a lot of these amenities might not be something that you might have access to easily on your own, but maybe through companies or because you're working with people or something, you somehow invest in them, or you have companies that basically invest in, production and sorry, my voice is terrible. Production and stuff, right? So you can imagine yourself really using them to your advantage and actually learning a lot by that. So I'm putting in the dedication and hard work into learning how to use these different devices or techniques, learning from your peers. I'm sorry for my voice. My voice was totally fine before this reading. So sorry. Okay, enough of the throat clearing. So I do think overall that you will learn a lot of techniques from your peers, from your bosses, from clients. I think it's a great opportunity to invest in yourself and your future. I think that it will work out great because you're going to feel satisfied in what you're putting out there creatively. Your work and efforts would be seen and recognized, but I think overall you would get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So like, let's say, for example, you're like into design work and stuff like that when it comes to developing software or developing certain animation stuff, right? So I do think that you would get to play around with tools, get to play around with your maybe games or maybe your animations, stuff like that. So that's why it would feel very productive for you, and I think you would enjoy it overall. This vibe gives a very happy, fulfilling, emotional feel to it. Couldn't think of the right words, but overall you would I think it would allow you to build up a career for the long term and build up good things for your resumes, for example, in case you do want to venture out into different fields. I think you would have the thumbs up for this, and good for you. But overall, if you felt like you had second guesses, don't worry about it. It's normal. But I do think overall it would be a good investment for you to plan for your future, right? So kudos to you, pile number 1. So next, pile number 2. You guys have the Knight of Wands reversed. So the reason why the animation industry would not work out for you through this reading, right? Do take where it resonates. Not all yeses and not all nos are great. But keep in mind that the reason why it will not work out for you is because it would be extremely draining for you. I do think that you would not work a lot, like exhausted, but you're running on fumes. Like it feels like, imagine yourself putting a lot of different ideas, like whatever's catching, like it's like you're you're not trying to send out messages, but you're trying to kind of convey certain things with certain creative projects, like, well, let me do this, let me do that, like I want to see what sticks, right? So which is great, right? You have a lot of stamina for that. The problem is it might not be fulfilling, or it might not stick through the long term. It feels very short term things. Like imagine yourself doing a lot of short term projects and you're like, well, this isn't getting me anywhere. Like I really wanted to build a career, and because you invested yourself in a position where you wanted to build the long term, you never realized that there could be short term goals too, right? And it's not really the avenue you want to actually go through. And you might learn that the hard way or the good way or whatever way, but it's like, oh, well, I thought I wanted this, but I really don't. So it's really like taking energy from you because you're putting yourself out there, which is really fantastic. That's the way to go about anything. But the problem is you're not getting the same in return, or you're exhausting yourself in menial things, for example, or you're exhausting yourself because you're still green, and not green in expertise, green in terms of like years of experience, like that people just want, they just want you to know whether you're gonna have the stamina to stick it through. And maybe that's where you run short, where it's like I want to do this, but if I'm not gonna be 2-3 years down the line where I want to be, then I'm out. So it's definitely one of those fields I feel that you picked or that you're thinking about that's like, yes, it's rewarding short term, but is it really rewarding for the long term, or is it really what you want to kind of pursue? They really want a fresh look on things, and maybe you're a little bit older, or maybe you're still green in that way, where it's like you could be older and still green, and you're like, well, I just like decided to focus on this field. I was working here, but I decided to kind of do this other path because it was more stimulating, it was more rewarding, it was more fun, it was more creative, it was more like relaxing to you. And that's not what it lived up to be, or that's not what they're looking for, right? So it could be one of those things that there's disappointment because your ambition can be great, but it's like not in the right context, right? I do think there's other avenues that are more creative that could be fulfilling, but maybe the specific one you're thinking about, not everything in the animation industry is going to be like, no, it's not going to work out, but more so the specific one you're thinking about, you have to tweak it up a bit to be like, well, this sounds great in theory, but is it manageable for you? Can you pursue this, or do you want this, or do you want to actually have something that is for the long term, when you really want to have short term stuff that's like stimulating, fire energy stimulated, and you would get stifled, or you get like, you'd feel restricted if you just had to focus on one sole thing for the rest of like 5-10 years down the road. It's like, do I really want this, or do I want to do a little bit of everything? Not like so much airy, but more so you keep yourself physically stimulated and doing all these things that make you feel physically like you're tired, you're gonna go rest, and you're gonna come up the next day with even more energy, or the same energy. Like, you're gonna keep up. When you build up a certain amount of energy that you use throughout the day, you are gonna try to maintain it. But can you really do it with this kind of pacing? It's all about pacing, and I don't know if this is like your type of pacing. You might test it out, but I do think it might not be to your taste, and maybe you end up learning about other fields that might be more suited to you, and you might actually go through that. So do keep in mind that this no isn't a negative no, just like not like through this specific avenue would be the best suited, but it is something that you could pursue. Of course, you have the structure for it, like the discipline to actually do anything, but I do feel that it would wear you out, kind of thing. So do keep in mind to take whatever resonates. Pile number 3, you guys have the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Let me take a sip of water before I start getting more screechy. Would the animation industry work out for you? The specific field you're thinking about is a no. So the reason why it wouldn't is because it's underpaid, it's not well funded, or it's very limited. It just feels like money would be one of those objects as to why it wouldn't work out. Whether you're expecting more of a raise or expecting more income, or maybe like you get into it with the false premise that you're going to eventually get paid more down the road, and it just stays the same. Like, maybe it's because it's not well researched or not well liked, or maybe like the people that work there are very old fashioned and stuff, and they believe that time is what makes the experience, and that's what's going to get you, the extra income. But again, there's different versions for everybody when it comes to finances, that this would work out or why it wouldn't work out. Like, but it's just finances that it just feels like there's shortcomings on finances, whether you don't have investments enough in yourself that you're like capable of living up to the expectations of doing this more dedicated work. Doesn't mean it's going to be more hard, it's just more like time consuming, or whether you're just not happy, where it could lead you not to like investing yourself in projects that might not be well paid, for example, just because the department's not well liked. Like I said earlier, it just could be like it's something that maybe it's outdated. Even at that example, like I don't think it's outdated specifically to be drawing, but maybe the new thing is to be illustrating on iPads and illustrating pads and stuff like that, like computerized stuff. Like, technology could be one of those things where you're like, I'm not you specifically, but the department's a little bit more old fashioned, or maybe you are, then the speed that they need stuff out to be created, right? So like sometimes taking those shortcuts might be the way that they want to go about, and that's why you kind of like don't mesh well in that sense. Like you could try to marry it, but it does feel like, because these are some concepts you could be relating to, it might not be as rewarding financially or allow you to really save where you want to. You know, it's one of those things that you're like spending money, example, on the tools that you need, techniques you need to learn, workshops and stuff, but you're really not getting that investment back, and you could be disappointed in that way. Not because it's not fun, but it's more so it's just not the kind of work that you sought. Wait, how did I say that? You sought out to work in, right? You sought out to work in, yes. So do keep that in mind, that this pile could potentially, stick it out, but are you gonna stick it out for something that's just not gonna pay out for what you're putting out, right? So, work smart, not hard for everything. And I do think that you have that good concept. I don't think you're someone that's gonna work their butts off just because they can. It feels like you would try to it feels like you would try to kind of make the best out of situation, but you still have your own responsibilities. You're not going to just stick by through just because of loyalty. You really want to know who's going to pay out the best deal, right? Contract. So do keep that in mind as to why this specific avenue you're specifically aiming at might not work the best for you, but it could be a great learning experience to, build up on your resume, for example, and then follow through a different type of field. So take what resonates, pile number 3. Next, pile number 4. You guys have this the 6 of Swords upright. Sorry, I didn't want to cough right away. This is a yes, and it feels like it's a yay, but I don't know if everybody everybody takes a different route for this. So do keep in mind that when it comes to this yes, it feels like it's a very anxiety driven yes, because yes, it could work out great, but you're gonna have to walk away from something that you really liked, for example, or you're gonna have to learn to juggle something mentally, and it might strain your mental health in that way, like something about your intellectual skills being put to the test. Like example, like catering to your career and your personal life, and then managing like a balance, for example. I know this isn't like the Two of Pentacles and stuff, but it just feels like you would have to kind of follow. Why am I messing up so much? Sorry. Let me start that again. It feels like you would try to mesh that as best as you could to your abilities, which is possible, but I think it would be mentally very draining to you. Like not hearing people bitch you out, right? Because they want more out of you in some aspect. Communication. So communicating your needs with like your personal life and for a career can be something tricky. Not impossible, just tricky. Remember that. I always think of sword energy, like sometimes it can be trickstery kind of stuff. So it can be tricky to navigate, but sometimes it's just more menial or like more wordy. You could also just have a lot of things that have to be dealt with when it comes to communicating your projects or your output. I feel that you would your expectations would be met, but it would come, at a high cost, doable cost, but do take what resonates. I feel that maybe even then, I wonder if this type of energy would entail you being someone that has to cut their creativity to some extent. So like imagine like you come out with something very creative and they like your idea, but they want to shorten certain paths or avenues, and it's still great when it's like left at the end, but you're like dissatisfied with some of it because you know I have potential for other things to be creative with, or but it's just trying for time consumption. They have to go. It just feels like time consumption stuff is a big thing here, like you have to do stuff fast, put work fast. No, I guess like I think of fast fashion too, with this field where it's like you want to pursue these things, but like you have to cut corners and do things fast to put products out. Yes, it would work out, but it's just you got to do speed, you got to be fast, you got to do things, be on your toes, and it can be very exhausting. Like you learning to walk away from more freedoms of creativiness could be a little bit annoying, but it's workable, it's doable. It's just you mentally preparing yourself to do a lot of work pretty fast, dividing yourself a lot more, learning to be a little bit more flexible, even though it can be a little bit straining on you. Yeah, it's a lot about that. It's just being flexible and learning to do better works with your time consumption. That could be one thing, but do keep in mind that you just take what resonates. This can be still a positive yes, but it's just a very mentally stressed positive yes. To be on your toes, to have so much weight on you, maybe lack of sleep, for example. It's not the 9 or 10 of swords, but it just feels like it's building up. You build up a lot of challenges to fix other people's mistakes, or just things that you need to work through, not necessarily your mistakes, things like that. So do keep in mind, only take what resonates. So next, pile number 5, it's pile 5. You guys have the Emperor upright. This is a yes. The animation industry would work out would work out for you. And it would have to do a lot with the fact that you would have to be very direct, use a lot of passion, go forth full force, and be very independent. So it's great in theory. So you're gonna have to channel that masculine energy where it's like being rough and tough. Even if you are a female, you're gonna have to get in touch with the fact that maybe because you feel that it's a male, like specific field you're thinking about could be very male dominated, so maybe because of that you have to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to what you desire to go fulfill and like pursue, like really channel that like that rage, that inner passion, to be very direct and disciplined, to be very responsible, to really put your energy full force and not take no's for answers. I feel like you're gonna surround yourself with yes people necessarily, but you're gonna surround yourself with challenges that you're gonna be overcoming. Adversaries are nothing to you. You're like, I got this in the bag. I'm gonna go and fix it. Whatever mistake you do isn't something I can't fix. It feels like you're someone that knows what they're capable of, and you live up to those expectations. Not anyone else's expectations necessarily, which can be great, but it feels like very boss energy, like managerial. Maybe these are kind of fields you're interested in the animation industry, and you're not gonna let people walk all over you. So I do think that if you had like a superior, not like you feel superior, but if you have superior type of career options available to you, you would pursue them, you would get them. But it feels like even then you would possibly work with a lot of men around you, a lot of men who are very stuck in their habits and they're stubborn in the same, like the way that if things worked out great, like thus far, they're gonna continue to do their habits, and like you're like, that's not gonna work out. Like, I'm here, I'm doing things differently, I'm gonna revamp this, and I'm gonna give it like a different look. It feels like you're trying to strategize differently and pursue things differently in a way where it might make them feel uncomfortable to succumb to the idea that maybe even a strong female can lead the way, right? Sometimes it can be like that. And even if you are a man, they might not see you as a kind of man that could fulfill the role of being a leader, and you very much could. It just feels like these men don't look the part, but you do look the part of like a boss, a leader. someone who is more than capable of putting people in their place and directing them to what to do when it comes to their job descriptions and criteria. So it feels like you could be great at this, but you're going to have to channel that more masculine energy, which is great. It's great. Sometimes it's needed. But yeah, you're going to learn to be respected as well. I do think that they're going to earn your respect, and you're going to earn their respect too, and it's going to be pretty fast energy, fast productive energy that you give off, and you're going to receive that back in results. So I do think that they might feel intimidated, or you might intimidate them, or you might feel intimidated at first of what the job entails, but you've got this, and you'll fulfill those shoes, like you'll fill those shoes up, and people will respect you for what you're putting out there. And it's great. I do think sometimes it's needed to have that drive and stamina to keep up with very demanding jobs sometimes. And animation industries can be very demanding sometimes. Sometimes it's always about the time of like, how fast can you guys put out a product or a service or something in a year? And how many can you do? So sometimes it can be like that, like how fast can you do this? And you're like, yes. So it's great. It's great when you have positive thinking, you're confident, you're strategic, you're dominant. It feels like you got this. You have the passion for your projects, and you have the passion to lead people to finish also their work. So it's great. Great team leader. When you're being, when you're using those skills to your best abilities. Of course, this can also be taken to the negative, where you can be like a dictator and stuff. But keep in mind that I'm trying to keep this in a way where you can direct yourself to be more diplomatic, right? So I hope you enjoyed this. This is a yes. It seems like a good yes, but you're gonna have to fight your way in a room full of men who don't believe in you and your vision. And I think it's great. I think that you are up for the challenge and you're confident in yourself. So thank you, pal number 5. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon, everyone. And bye-bye.